About a day and a half to go, and we are anticipating a frantic deadline day. Let's get to the future of this man, because it looks like he's staying put for the time being, at least. We understand Manchester City will be keeping Raheem Sterling. It was previously suggested the winger could be going to Arsenal as part of a deal to bring Alexis Sanchez to the Etihad. A possible swap and cash deal was being talked about, but we understand Sterling will remain a City player, as I say, at least for the time being. What about the man who's intrinsically linked to this deal? We understand Arsenal have rejected a £50 million offer from City for Alexis Sanchez. Despite that, those close to the deal say they're still keen to sign him, but want a cash-only move. Arsenal had favoured a swap deal involving the man we just mentioned, Sterling. Sanchez is currently in Chile, training with the national team ahead of a World Cup qualifier tonight. Let's move on to another deal which has gathered pace in the last few days. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain has, though, turned down a move to Chelsea. Arsenal had agreed a fee believed to be £35 million with the champions, but the England winger instead wants to move to Liverpool. He'll go either now to Anfield if they bid for him and agree a fee, or he'll see out the remaining 11 months of his contract at the Emirates. Let's get on to this man. It's gathered pace in the last few hours. We understand Danny Drinkwater handed in a transfer request on Monday morning at the Leicester training ground. We're told Leicester City and Chelsea are still a long way apart in their valuation of the player. Sky sources say Chelsea's biggest bid so far is worth £23 million. Leicester don't want to sell the player, so it would take an offer well in excess of £30 million for them to be tempted. The later in the window an offer is made, the more reluctant Leicester will be to sell due to the difficulty in finding a replacement. England midfielder still has the rest of this season and 3 more seasons remaining on his Leicester contract. One of the biggest deals of the summer, of course, Philippe Coutinho is, though, currently training in Brazil with the national team. We understand he's desperate to join Barcelona, who have said they will sign 1 or 2 players by the deadline. He's been treated for a back injury brought on by emotional stress. Let's get back to the home screen and head to what Arsenal might be doing with a player who's really failed to settle, really. Inter Milan have made a new offer to Arsenal for German centre-back Shkodran Mustafi. Sky in Italy say Inter are offering a £4.6 million loan fee with an option to buy for £23 million, which could then become an obligation to buy. Inter would have to purchase Mustafi if he played in 50% of their games this season. Arsenal signed him for £35 million from Valencia last summer. It's understood, though, that they expect him to stay. They're obviously preparing, though, it would seem, for his departure in some respects at least, because there is interest in this man. We've learned Arsenal are interested in Johnny Evans, but so far there's been no formal offer. Manchester City are expected to make an improved offer, and we should see more movement on that one in the next 24 hours. Leicester have also made a recent bid for the Northern Ireland defender. Let's just keep it West Brom for the next couple of stories as we bring you up to date. We understand Swansea are still monitoring Nasser Chadli at West Brom, but are unwilling to pay that £25 million asking price. Chadli is currently in Belgium with the national team, but provision has been made for him and others to leave the camp if they're engaged with transfer activity. Let's move to a deal that's a good deal closer for West Brom and something of a coup, according to some sources, and West Brom are in advanced talks with PSG about a possible loan deal for Polish international Grzegorz Krychowiak. Sky sources understand the defensive midfielder only moved to PSG last summer. That was a £28 million transfer from Sevilla, where, of course, he was twice a Europa League winner. Plans are in place for Krychowiak to fly to England later today to complete that deal. From the West Midlands down to south-east London and Crystal Palace, it looks like there is interest. It's quite peculiar, this one, actually, in terms of how it plays out with Andros Townsend. But Palace are interested in winger Demarai Gray, but Leicester are adamant they don't want to sell the player and are currently negotiating a new contract with the England under-21 international. Sky source are telling us Bournemouth retain an interest in Gray. Of course, they tried to sign him a couple of years ago. Let's get to the man who is linked, or maybe not, if you believe what's been written. There is interest from Leicester in Palace's Andros Townsend, and Leicester inquired about him earlier in the window. We understand Leicester are prepared to pay £25 million, but aren't interested in a swap deal involving Gray. This will have to be a straight cash transaction or nothing. And other sources told me this morning that the timing on this one could be an issue. Let's round off on the home screen here with Serge Aurier, because his representative has told Sky Sports News that his move to Tottenham is imminent. We've been told the player has been granted a work permit enabling him to finalise his transfer. The club's agreed a £23 million deal last week, and Aurier has completed his medical and sorted out those personal terms. PSG had set a midday deadline for Aurier to sort out that permit, or he could have been transferred to either Barcelona or Juventus, where a permit would not be required. OK, plenty more going on in the Premier League, in Europe and elsewhere and beyond, of course. Let's check in with Crystal Palace and find out exactly where they are with this one. Liverpool have rejected Crystal Palace's third offer of the summer for defender Mamadou Sakho. The bid was made personally by Chairman Steve Parish, and that was £22 million plus a further 3 in add-ons. We're told Palace are aware of Liverpool's expectations on the fee and the rationale behind it. They value the France international at £30 million. Now, listen out to what we're going to do here, because we're going to go from Crystal Palace to West Ham United. And, in fact, we're going to go from one Sakho to another Sakho. In fact, it'll be me getting the Sakho with too many more lines like that. West Ham striker Diafra Sakho is closing in on a move back to France with Rennes. Sky sources telling us he's passed his medical and that personal terms will now be discussed. He arrived from Metz in 2014 and scored 21 goals in 50 games. Very good. Meanwhile, West Ham are in talks to sign Lorient striker Abdul Majid Varis, and the player is in London today. Let's get up to the northeast and Newcastle and talk about a former Crystal Palace player who played in the Premier League with them. Newcastle this morning received a £15 million bid from Fulham for striker Dwight Gale. However, it's understanding that they're looking for nearer to £20 million for their striker. They are, though, currently considering that Fulham bid. Gale was left out of the squad that beat West Ham on Saturday and didn't even make the bench. Intriguingly, though, sources at Fulham deny making that offer. Let's go to a fellow promoted club. Not really been part of the plans. Been made clear that he can exit the John Smith Stadium if he can find a club. And Sky sources are telling us that Burnley and Huddersfield are close to a deal that will see Nahki Wells move to Turf Moor. Earlier this summer, Huddersfield boss David Wagner admitted he was open to offers for the 27-year-old, as I say, who scored 10 goals in their promotion season.